man. So anyways, I just want to let everybody know that we are actually streaming right now. So we'll see as people join, but this is just a chance for us to chat a little bit. The actual webinar will start at the top of the hour. We have a number of people in already, and we'll just enjoy some time together, some social time together as we prep for that. For anybody who's here already, we have Duana Blomstrom, who's the author of Emotional Banking, and I'll give her a full introduction later on. Very interesting background. Adam Hadi is a VP Marketing for Current, and Current is amazing. I mean, I didn't know you guys were so big. You have something like 500,000 Twitter followers, and I'm not saying that's the only thing that demonstrates size, but it's impressive.
Yeah,
go ahead.
We're growing fast. If I'm doing my job right.
Excellent, excellent. And we've got Hernando Rubio da Costa, CEO of Movie. So super happy to have him, and Annika Lin as well, who has a very long title because she does a lot of stuff. Director of Performance Marketing and CRM at Thimble Insurance. And so happy to have you too as well. This is not the formal introduction. If you've already just joined us and pinged in, if you're here early, we're just having a chat. And you're along for the ride. And if you're here, don't hesitate to put something in the chat. Open that box up, and we'll talk. I think we have. Go ahead, Annika.
Do you work with Drew?
Yeah.
He's very close. I mean, we were like kind of close.
Yeah, Drew Frung's the genius behind the entire operation here.
You know, like, yeah, we had a conversation about like deep linking, because I know he was like dealing with web to app, that type of situation. And we had a chat about that. He's amazing. I love him. You are lucky to have him.
Very much so. Yeah. I've known Drew for a few years. And so he was able to join the team shortly after I did. So I'm really happy. He's our director of user acquisition.
Yeah, I know. Good stuff.
Nice. And Adam, it's totally fine if your cat is meowing in the background. It's all good. This is the coronavirus era. If a child happens to make it up into your office and says hello, you know what? Just put them on your lap. Or
allow it. Yeah.
Office is a little bit of a stretch. It's more of a living room. We're dealing with the reality of New York apartments here.
I feel your pain. I'm video conferencing daily with people, and they're in their bedroom, and the bed is behind. At least it's made in some cases. This is the world.
I was just finishing a webinar in which was involved one guy from Mexico, and he was trying to speak in English, and the little dog, the Chihuahua dog, starts barking, and he was like suffering so much, doing like trying to focus on the call, doing like this, trying to put their hands on their ears, and finally he said, "Can you stop that fucking dog and take it out of here?" It was so funny. Wow. Because I mean, the best way to feel you better is to feel someone that it's in a harder position rather than you. So that elevates your motivation.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw something last night about, I can't remember who it was, a famous actress, Judy Garland. She famously had a scrapbook of really bad things that have happened to other people. And she will pull it out from time to time to feel better. So I think that's a genius idea. We should all consider it.
that helps.
There's got to be a big, long German word for that. Isn't that Schadenfreude or something like that? Pleasure at others' misfortune. I'm sure there's lots to go around. Yeah. I see we've started to get some participants in. If you're wondering what's going on, yes, we're on early. No, the actual live chat has not really started, but we are actually live chatting. So you are more than welcome to be here. We're going to start at the top of the hour formally, but we're just getting to know each other here and having a little bit of a chat. And if you pop in, feel free to pop in and say, hey, where you're from. We'd love to know where you're joining us from. We want this to be a bit of a social occasion as well. What city are you in? And maybe a little bit about how it's going there. Just feel free to put that in the chat. There's a chat button at the bottom of the screen. Pop that open and you will see what's going on, and you can send a message to anybody who's there. And we're looking forward to starting in about 5 minutes. Duana, how are things right now in London?
Terrifying still, I would say. it's hilarious because if you look at the media, you would think that we had the same visceral reaction as the US, as in absolutely you don't put baby down and we're not going to stay inside and all that. But apparently a couple of weeks later, when they've pulled it, the Brits are the ones staying most inside of all European capitals. And in fact, now that they've asked them again, they are under no circumstance wanting to get out until there's a vaccine. So I think now that we've managed to all lock doors, like people are not going to make us get out that easily. So I don't hear a lot of chatter about let's just do something. So
yes.
Might be correlated with the weather. Just going to put that out there.
What are you saying about London weather, Adam?
Although I think it's been nice recently. My sister lives in London.
Adam, aren't you in New York?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Where the weather is beautiful year round. So
I was in New York in January. In fact, we had a little meeting there, and this was the weirdest thing because it was snowing one day. It was bitterly cold, and the wind was just roaring through your bones, it felt like. And the next day it was like warm and sunny, and you could walk around in a t-shirt. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was what happens like in the winter. It was like so warm. Sometimes it went up to like 60s, and we were like, what was going on? Like the weather was like so weird. Like I always say to people, like weather is chaotic. Like
yes,
yeah,
even more than finance.
Oh, for sure.
If you're just joining us right now, we're going to start the webinar in about 5 minutes, probably 2 minutes off the top of the hour to allow as many people to come in as possible. Please let us know in chat. Click that chat button at the bottom and let us know who you are and where you're from. I'd love to say hi to you. This is not a typical webinar. We'll talk about that a little later. This is a live chat. Love to be social here. Let us know where you're from. Say hi, and we'd love to say hi as well. We have people here from New York. We have people here from London who are going to be speaking, and from Colombia, who probably has the nicest weather of all, I'm going to guess. And I'm from Vancouver, Canada. So we're looking forward to having a good chat here. Also, this is being recorded, and we are going to play this again, I guess, in most of our evenings and in what is a good time during the day in Asia, especially India, where a lot of people will be listening as well. And Adam has a cat, and this webinar or live chat will not be complete if we do not see the cat. I mean, the cat has to be on screen. This is not optional.
He'll make an appearance.
This is a basic requirement. You know, we must see the cat.
Well, you know, there's 2 of them, so you know, lots of opportunities here.
Ooh, okay. And if they knock the camera over or purr loudly beside the microphone, so much the better.
I also have a piggy. His name is Wilson. Remember Castaway? I'm talking to this piggy right now. His name is Wilson.
Okay, this is Wilson from Castaway. I love it. Have you started decorating, Wilson?
I have not. I've just talked to him sometimes when I'm frustrated. So.
But Annika, does Wilson say? Does Wilson talk back?
No, he's so quiet.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Oh, okay.
No.
You were still saying.
As much wait a couple of weeks more and you will see.
Yeah, exactly. Not yet. Like give Wilson a second.
If you've just joined us, I see some participants are starting to trickle in. Let us know where you're from. Tell us what your name is. Click that chat button at the bottom. Let us know where you're from, and we'd love to say hi to you. This is the pre-live chat, where we're just kind of getting to know each other a little bit and saying hi, and we will get started in about 4 minutes. And I think I cut off Annika there, so I'd love you to re-say what you were going to say.
Oh, I say, I probably will hear like he talks back pretty soon. Yeah.
Yes.
So, this is Coke Zero and not wine.
You know, I'm like lifting these bottles when I'm like tired. I'm lifting these Tito's.
Yeah.
Just make sure that bottle stays full. Otherwise, it'll be too.
Yeah. like when I'm frustrated. So I have many entertainment at my apartment.
Yes. I'm gonna
Have you
prime
guys seen that there's an account on Twitter that surfaced over the last few days that's rating people's backgrounds?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That is lovely. Rate
Yeah.
my type room, is it? Or what is it exactly? I need to double check it.
And then they say Zoom is the app that you find out if your coworker has bookshelf or not. That's the app function of the app.
Excellent. Excellent. Hey, I see we've got a question in the Q&A from a tester. That's awesome. If you do have questions, we will have that open and we will take some questions from attendees in a bit. We're going to start in a minute or two, just let a few others to come in. And if you've just joined us, click the chat and let us know where you're from. I did it, but unfortunately I did it to panelists and not to everybody. So I guess I'll do it to everybody in a moment. Take a look at that and we'll start in just a moment. We've got people here, panelists here from New York City and from Colombia, from Vancouver and from London. And we'll get started in about 2 minutes. Chicago, Brian, welcome from Chicago. Love Chicago. Chicago in the summer has got to be one of the best cities around. I say that, and I know there are New York people who are panelists here, but I do love Chicago, and it's amazing.
Summertime shy isn't too bad.
Adam, say again.
Summertime shy isn't too bad.
Not the winter time. Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Awesome. I am from Vancouver, so I'll just pop that in as well. And that is the Vancouver that is in Canada, British Columbia, not the Vancouver that is in Washington. I'm sure they hate it in Washington. There's a city with the very same name.
I had no idea there was a Vancouver in Washington. So.
Oh, there is. It's a feud. I mean, it will never be solved. I mean, and we had the Olympics, so it's not cool. Annika, New York, excellent, wonderful. And you are talking to all panelists, so we need to be talking to panelists and attendees. That is a little drop-down button there.
Oh yeah. Should I do it again? Yeah.
You should do it again. Exactly. And Brian, you did it to panelists, which is wonderful, but we love to see to everybody. So if you do the chat, there is a little drop down menu that says, London, Duena, thank you. There's a little drop down panel there. Awesome. So we're going to get started in probably about a minute. We got some participants with us live. That's wonderful. Many others will catch this non-live, and there will be a rebroadcast as well of the full version in India. Bogota, excellent. And New York, love for New York, excellent. Needs it right now. I think we'll get started right now. And so Tanushree, I'll ask you to take the slides off and we'll just go with faces. This is the new rules of marketing engagement, and this is the FinTech session. Everybody here knows that everything has changed, right? Where you go has changed. Where you buy things, how you buy, what's available to buy has changed. Where you work has changed. And we've seen some of that already in the pre-show here with our cats and our pets and our kids in our workspaces. If you work has changed. My name is Junkets here. I write for Forbes. And we're going to have a chat today. It's not a marketing webinar. This is a talk for marketers in crisis. And like I've said before, as you join, let us know in the chat where you're from. We'd love to say hi to you. We'd love to welcome you. Tanushree, if you can put up slide 2, please, that'd be great. This is actually the second in an 8-part series. Yes, 2 months we're talking live chats with executives and marketers, 2 executives and marketers about what's going on, what's happening. CleverTap.com/new rules. You can check them all out. The first one was a big one. It was about changes for consumers and marketers, about all the things that are going on and what's that changing and how we message, how we talk, how we communicate, and how those messages are received. We'll hit some of that as well today in the FinTech one, but our next one is actually on gaming. So that's going to be a fun one. Excellent. Tanushree, you can remove those slides. And as I said, we're focusing on FinTech today. We're going to spend some time just being human about the challenges that we face. We never want to talk about category and we never want to jump on a crisis or benefit from a catastrophe, but we have to be honest, right? Streaming has doubled as people are staying home. They're watching more Netflix, other things like that. FinTech has seen some of those benefits as well, right? And FinTech already had a monster 2019. I just reported recently on App Annie saying that registrations for FinTech apps were up 71% versus the previous year. And large fintech apps had a 20% increase in monthly average users. And we'll talk to some people who have fintech apps and insurance and banking, other things like that, investments today, and ask about some of those things. In 2020, that's really accelerating, right? The use of those banking, insurance, investment apps. We've seen from recent data, just from the recent weeks, in fact, that fintech is up 35% in terms of usage in the US and 85% in Korea and Japan. Pretty impressive, actually. That kind of fits a common theme that I've been seeing from a lot of executives and marketers that I've been talking to recently, that COVID-19 is accelerating changes and trends that were already happening, right? And I actually did a story about that this morning, where we see increased volatility, more digital payments, more short-term loans, and bricks and mortar shutdown for banks and that sort of thing is accelerating the adoption of fintech. It's a really interesting quote, because as that acceleration happens, there can be some good things happening for a lot of the players in the industry, but there's also some real challenges, right? And Rabud Vlar, who's a managing partner of Finch Capital, said that 2020 will be challenging for fintechs to navigate, but there are better times ahead. But he said this is the most critical thing. Post-crisis, disruptive winners will take all, as we expect surging demand. So we're going to talk about that. It's not easy to see where the path forward is. It's unpredictable, right? Will monetization grow, right? Will everything slow down after initial surging? Will retention be low or will retention be high? Will this be the new normal, right? And what will the new normal be what will it look like? So that's what we're here for. We're here to figure it all together. We're here to check it out. I just want to thank the attendees who are coming in so far. Welcome from Dublin. That's wonderful. Ranil, Abraham, that's excellent. Good to see you. And Josie from Indonesia, you are more than welcome. Excellent. Thank you for joining us. So I'm going to introduce our guests. And Tanushree, if you can put up slide 3, that'd be wonderful. We have a fabulous panel of guests right now. I could not be more excited to introduce them to you. First one I'm going to introduce is Duana, and you can see her full name on screen. Duana joined us literally yesterday. We had a cancellation, had to change a few things, and she was amazing and came right in. She's worked at CBS, and she's had just about every 3-letter acronym job that you can think of. She's been a CMO, she's been a CGO, extra props if you realize that's a Chief Growth Officer. She's currently CPO for Memento Payments. She writes for Forbes as well, and she's a co-founder and CEO of People Not Tech, an AI company. Very interesting. She's the author of Emotional Banking. We also have Adam. Adam has a super interesting career trajectory. He was an economist at the Bureau of Labor Statistics. I mean, an economist, and moved into business. This is really, really cool. He led user acquisition at Topps. If you had Topps baseball cards as a kid, that's what we're talking about there. He was at Quid. He's now VP of marketing at Current, which bills itself as the bank for modern life. And if you go to the website, it says text us for a link to get the app. It's pretty modern. We also have Hernando, and Hernando had executive roles at Pillsbury, Cellstar. He's been a serial entrepreneur, and he's now CEO and co-founder of Movi, which is a fintech startup based in Colombia. And we have Annika. Annika has been at Sirius FM, right? Not FM, but Sirius FM is what they call themselves, I believe. Annika will totally roast me if I got that wrong. She's been at Kraft Group. She's been at Stash Invest, and she now leads performance marketing and CRM at Thimble, the on-demand insurance startup. Tanushree, you can drop those slides and just welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate it. We're looking forward to this. I'm going to open up the way I open up a lot of the things that I'm talking to people. A lot of times you just have a call with somebody, or I do a lot of live streaming, a lot of podcasting as well. And I'm going to ask, hey, where are you right now physically in the world, and professionally, what's happening in your world? We'll start with Duana.
Gosh, nothing like going first. I'll try and keep it short. First off, a small correction. No longer CPO for Memento. It's been a long while actually. Won a couple of Innovates with them, but so been there, done that. CPO for People Not Tech now,
Excellent.
And it very hands-on. So to answer the second part first, I'm in a unique position. If you wish, and we had this conversation, John, I'm with a foot out of fintech and into the people and cultural side of things. And it's been that way for the past year and a bit for me. Because of the book I've written, I've never left fintech, and the things I've learned in the last 22 years, I haven't yet unlearned. But at the same time, I've taken all of that while I was writing the book, and I focused on what is it that's stopping fintech from delivering on the promise that they had towards consumers, which is what we're here to discuss today. Little did I know then that there would be an event that would accelerate everything. So my conclusion had been it's a cultural issue that has to be sorted, and it's a cultural issue that's common for every other industry. And that's how I made the leap into, right, then we need to sort people, and we need to sort culture, and we need to look at what's happening in enterprises in general and not only in financial services. So that's why I'm in both industries, if you wish. So what is happening in my world is very acute from the point of view of people. Obviously, this sudden move to remote is essentially what we've been preparing people to do. This importance of teams, this importance of being human, agile, human-centered design, all of the things I've been talking about for the last 5 years are all of a sudden circulating in everyone's head. I'm in London, by the way, but we have had maybe as a startup, maybe the busiest last 2 months of our entire life. I'm sure that's the case for many other people here.
You know, that's a common refrain that I've heard from multiple people who are still working and in this space or in other spaces where, you know what, there are people who are laid off, unfortunately, and there's those who are just working harder and harder. Adam, I'm going to go to you next. And if you can tell us a little bit about where you are in the world, how things are going on there in terms of COVID-19 and where you are professionally as well.
Yeah, certainly. So I'm in Brooklyn, New York. I would say I am very thankful. That's probably the number one word I would use right now. It's been actually just recently moved to Brooklyn on March 1st, and I'll take you through the last few weeks of my life. I moved here, and then about a week later, I got coronavirus. And then my wife got coronavirus. Then I actually lost my cat, and my wife went into labor. And that was the stretch that was my March. Now, thankfully, everything's kind of worked out. So most importantly, my wife gave birth to a healthy baby boy 2 weeks ago. So that's really exciting. I actually found my cat last week, so that was wonderful. And you know, me and my wife both recovered really well off of both having COVID-19, and now, you know, all is well in the world. And you know, that's personally, and then professionally. Well, you know, I'm lucky to, number one, have a job. Number two, be at a company that's doing quite well right now. I have lots of colleagues I know, and lots of people I know, lots of family who are, you know, super bright, accomplished people who are not in that position right now. And so I'm just, I'm thankful is how I would describe it.
Adam, what are you doing with us right now? You've just come through COVID-19, your wife, you just had a baby, you're working hard, the cat. Wow. I want to thank you for being here, and you're an inspiration. I mean, I know we feel very lucky, right? We do have jobs. We are employed. We're doing things. And I didn't even know that you had COVID-19. Thank you for sharing that. It makes it more real in terms of what we're going through here. I want to thank a few attendees as well. Natalie from Nevada, welcome. Excellent. And Josie, I'm not sure if I said hello, from Indonesia, welcome. And Derek from Hungary, excellent. Good to have you here. Annika, I wanted to go to you and ask you the same question. How are you personally? How are you professionally?
Yeah, so let me just give a brief introduction of the company Simple, because probably not many people heard of this company. Is a company that offer on-demand business insurance for like small business owner, or for independent contractor, or freelancers. So the reason why we are offering this disruptive model is, in the past, the business insurance is you have to renew every year, is a yearly contract agreement. And now we break them down into like by hour, by day, by week, by months, like however length you wanted to buy it. So if you are like yoga instructor, you got a side hustle to teach yoga for an hour, you can just purchase the liability insurance for that specific hours. So we give a lot of flexibility to side hustlers, and that's our core value proposition for Simple. And when we have both apps and then web. And then yesterday, actually, Apple Store say that we love Simple on the App Store.
Wow.
No, that's a huge for us. So we are
Wow.
really, really like excited and to kind of like move the app more for Simple. So that's
Okay.
pretty exciting during this time. And personally, I'm pretty well. So I live a mile away from a public hospital, city hospital, and it has been a really, reporting a lot of deaths and terrible news. So I can hear like sirens every day, like all day, all night. So for me, like every time when I thought about people were like out there fighting, and I'm just stay inside and doing my work. Actually, I'm like not complaining at all, because I used to just spend like 8 hours a day at home, right? Because I pretty much run, exercise every day. So now personally, I just try to keep the routine. I work and I dedicate like an hour and a half or 2 hours every day to work out. Like in my living room. I don't go out. I work out in my living rooms. So that has been my routine for like a month and a half.
Yes.
And then, professionally, as I say, right, we are pretty lucky to be, like loved by Apple. And also, it's like a lot of readjustments, like the goal has been readjusted and the budget has been readjusted. The focus has been readjusted. So our team has to be pretty nimble to kind of adopt the change.
Nimble thimble.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yes. Nimble thimble. So that's, and, like we have less time of like in-person communication. So we actually have to spend more time on like, like virtual communication and prepare documents, make sure everyone is, on the same page with you. So that has to be me recently, like professionally.
Hernando, let's turn to you. And you have a different experience, of course, because you're in a different part of the world. How are you personally and professionally in Colombia?
Thanks, Jan. Personally, I think that even though it's tough times and we're learning about the new reality and how to live that new reality, I think that my case, finally I'm here with my family. I have 4 children, so 2 dogs, 1 cat, and I'm living with them. I'm used to travel a lot, to go to many restaurants, and now understanding that the best restaurant that it's in the world, it's in your kitchen, and the best place to be, it's at your sofa. And the best moment of the day, it's getting home and sleeping in the bed with all your children and going back to what really matters, which is family. At the same time that as many of the other panelists, in which we are working more than ever. I think that the last 2 months or month and a half since the lockdown started, we have not only be working more than ever, but also be more productive. So personally, I think that we're living a new reality and learning about that. And I think that a lot of changes will come out of this. On professional, I think that as you were saying during your introduction, we are facing a lot of opportunities, a lot of opportunities. I mean, fintech, it's one of the industries in which COVID, it's kind of helping. I cannot say that it's helping to any industry, but it will definitely make faster the change of habits from people. And we're doing a lot of stuff. I mean, actually right now, after saving lives by doing the lockdown, now the economic crisis is appearing day by day. And in emerging markets, basically there's a lot of people that are not formal, and we don't have an employee subsidy. So there's a lot of people uninformal that it's not having anything to eat. The desperation is getting higher, and governments need to make a lot of welfare payments or subsidies. And since Mobi, it's a digital wallet focused on how to offer financial services for people who are under or unbanked, we are working with the government to disperse a lot of payments. So there's a lot of people using the wallet, but the beauty of this is that normally those disbursements for welfare payments are being used by people going immediately to withdraw the money in our case, since we are a very cool product and a very useful product, people are using it. So we already achieved very good numbers in terms of percentage of people using the money instead of withdrawing the money. And we're very happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Good, good. Yeah, coronavirus giveth and coronavirus taketh away, right? We're starting to see some of the things that maybe we didn't value that are valuable, and we're starting to see so many things that that we're losing as well, and tough times, not only health-wise, but also economically wise. So let's start with Annika on our question, where we start to get into and dive into what's really changing with fintech as a result of COVID-19. Are you seeing massive adoption? What are the challenges? What are the changes you're seeing? We'll start with Annika.
So I've been seeing like a fintech make it more like flexible and easy for people. So the best example, because for us, for Symbol, we have been trying to create a lot of even more flexible feature for our customer can pause the insurance instead of cancel, because we notice a lot of people lapse on their payments, right? And thankfully we actually won't charge them if they need to buy the policy again. They will be offered the same rate, but it may not happen to a lot of different insurance carriers, and that's something that we are offering to our customers. So we have to be more sympathy, and then to offer a lot of solution to our customer, and also offer them resources. So we send out the resource guide by states. So we kind of tell them that, especially our customer, a lot of them are small business owners, right? They need money, they need funding, right? So we tell them like, where can they get help with their funding, from the local government and all the other stuff that they need to know. So that's something that we are trying to help our customers. And then I noticed that yesterday I found the Stash app. They actually offer that banking feature that if you enable their banking, the government stimulus fund will go directly to your the Stash bank account. So so this is like how like fintech nowadays, they are thinking very quickly to react and to make it people easier to access to the money they need. So that's what I see from the impact of fintech overall.
Yeah, we'll turn to Adam next and just ask what he's seen. I mean, there are major changes. I mean, we have a number of vehicles because we have teens at home, my wife and I, and guess what? We're not driving anywhere. So, hey, we won't renew that insurance, right? So there's some challenges as well as some good things. Adam, what are you seeing?
Yeah, actually, it's some similar themes here across the board, right? Very much actually similar to what Hernando was talking about. Here in the U.S., obviously, we have our stimulus payments, right? And that's been, while I'm sure Annika's probably, educating kind of their customer base, probably not SBA loans, the CARE Act, all that, which is super complicated. We're kind of dealing with the same thing for consumer stimulus, right? And so a bit of background on current, we're a bank for people who are overlooked by traditional banks, right? So, if you make a bunch of money, if you're wealthy, you go up to a Chase or a Citibank, any traditional bank, you're well taken care of, right? However, if you're somebody who's paycheck to paycheck, an hourly worker, somebody who doesn't get regular direct deposits, maybe you're in a gig economy, maybe you're creative, traditional banks just aren't really built to serve you. And so that's where Current comes in. Obviously, we're a startup, we're mobile only, based here in New York. We have far fewer fixed costs than a traditional bank with tens of thousands of employees and bank vaults full of cash and who knows what else, right? And so those guys, it's not so much that, they're assholes. They can be, but it's more so that, they essentially have a very expensive product that they offer people, and they subsidize for the wealthy and give you a free checking account, but they can't afford to do that for the majority of Americans. And so that's kind of where we step in. Our costs are far lower, so we can offer, full banking services without overdraft fees, without minimum balance requirements, without direct deposit requirements, anything along those lines. And so, sorry,
that's super interesting. No, I mean, that's super interesting because you deal with people who are potentially most economically impacted by coronavirus.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think Hernando can probably relate to much of this, right? Because these same structural banking issues exist around the world, right? And so we've seen similar trends happening in Europe and South America. Asia, in many ways, has actually skipped this entire process as a whole. But yeah, I mean, banking is obviously imperative to people's financial outcomes, and so making that affordable and making it non-predatory is really our mission. And so, yeah, you talk about a situation right now. Stimulus is this huge impact thing for essentially all Americans, right? And it's something that it's very much in line. One of our strongest feature props is just getting you your money faster. Our business model is fundamentally different than that of a traditional bank. To give you some background, a traditional bank, the way a traditional bank makes money is lots of it is off of deposits, right? Like loaning out the money that you have in the bank, upselling you into credit products, whether that be a premium credit card or a mortgage. Those are like the primary ways in which a bank makes money. Your average American, who's paycheck to paycheck, is not doing any of those things, right? They don't really have the credit score or the credit ability, and they certainly don't have the deposits, right? That's kind of the definition of being paycheck to paycheck. Our business model is more geared around interchange fees, meaning the fees that a merchant pays to accept a debit card. And so that's money that we can make that's not coming out of our customers' pocket. It's coming out of the network pockets that everybody's paying regardless. As well as we have a premium subscription product as well that's capped at $5 a month. And so we can get people their money faster because we aren't making money off of their deposits in that same fashion, right? And so one of the big features we have is getting people their regular paycheck faster. So if you typically get paid every Friday, we can get you that money on Wednesday in most scenarios. And that's just like
how much faster is that than a traditional bank?
2 days.
2 days faster.
And that's if you're somebody who's paycheck to paycheck, that's really, really impactful, right? Getting money, access to your money faster, right? You pick up an extra shift on Sunday and you're able to see that money on Wednesday instead of Friday. And then you talk about that with stimulus, and it's something actually we're really proud of as a company, is that we are the first bank in the country to have given people their stimulus payment. So this goes back to actually last Friday. We were the first, and that's, again, it was super impactful. In many cases, this is the most money that people have ever actually had in their bank account. It's $1,200 if you're an individual, $2,400 if you're a couple, tack on $500 per child, and you're getting to a substantial amount of money that's way higher than any paycheck, likely higher than even your tax refund. And so this is this really impactful event for many Americans, and we can only do so much around just, we can't just give people money. It's like our entire business model is built around being cost effective, right? So we can't just like dole out money left and right. But being the way that you interact with your stimulus and getting to you that fast as possible, that's been something that it's obviously a focus.
That's impressive. That's impressive, especially because we've heard lots of cases of people who were not able to get their money. Just want to welcome Samantha from Austria. Thank you for joining us. That's wonderful to have you. Any others, if you want to let us know who you are and where you're from in the chat, that'd be great. Excellent. I'm going to turn to Duana next for the same question, really, about how COVID-19 is impacting fintech. But I'm going to turn it a little bit towards messaging, because of course you wrote the book about emotion and banking and finance. And I did some research with about 250 CMOs recently, just on what's changing with COVID-19, with coronavirus. And Cynthia Gumbert, who's a CMO of SmartBear, said this. She said the biggest marketing turnoffs these days include tone deaf, business as usual promotional messages as if nothing's going on. On the other hand, on the other end of that spectrum, are marketers trying to make everything about COVID-19. So, I mean, you are still marketing, you're still going on. The world hasn't stopped. We need to move through this in some way, shape, or form, but we have to do it the right way, not ignoring what's going on, but also not jumping on it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting topic. And a quick observation before I answer is how it's connected, how incredibly separate our realities really are from a financial point of view. You were shocked, I was shocked. I'm sure Samantha and Derek and everyone else hearing the story, Adam, about how much faster you can get payments to people in only 3 days instead of 5, is it? To us, that's unheard of, because payments in Europe happen as they happen. Thank you, baby Jesus, of the few things we've gotten right in some places in the world. So just our realities are incredibly different. Not necessarily that anyone makes more money or anyone's better off or anyone can afford their bills any better, but just the speed in which money flows in and out of our lives, and when it's there and when not, it's very different for different parts of the world. And I think that connects to what you've asked, which is we have got to be incredibly sensitive to what is the reality of the financial situation of humans. And that is, as brands, whether that brand is of a big bank or of a fintech, the one thing that we can all across the board do is really tap into our reserves of what does this mean for a majority of my clients. And I think the difficulty here is all of us have went through business schools that have told us we have to segment, and we have to be very careful about these bits and pieces of types of humans. And then there's the millennials, and then there's this other type of humans that only go out on Wednesdays and they buy blood of virgins or whatever it is. But I think this is the time where we have to scale that back and forget what we've learned about segments and find that common layer of humanity in terms of behavior of a human and build on that. In other words, and I think it's unifying, whether you're a traditional bank or you're one of you guys, what you need to do now for that messaging to be authentic has to come from a place of that's what I'm feeling as well. So it has to be a commonality of the experience between you guys and your consumers. It's harder for big bankers than it is for us, but it's still doable. And I've seen some good examples. In fact, if anyone from the UK is watching this, I've reluctantly had to agree that some things that some big banks over here have put out on TV on the double have been quite hitting the mark in terms of having that conversation and that open channel, saying what consumers want is not for Barclays to tell them that they are there as a bank or to tell them that they feel their pain. Consumers want to know, A, will it be doing the things that I need it to be doing right now? And B, there's an underlying feeling that the brand can give you of whether or not they got you and they're hearing you and they're feeling the same things you're feeling, that they too are made out of people that need to get their stimulus check or whatever it is that's the common experience, right? So if they manage to put that out there, whether it's by showing a cup of tea that they're sharing between branches online or by saying you can use my app, it's almost irrelevant. The one thing that brands need to do, I think, is leave the idea of segmenting, go back to a very clear what is the common human experience between all of us, and then attempt to show that very authentically in messaging.
What's super interesting about what you're saying is that a lot of marketers that I've been talking to and executives I've been talking to saying, hey, this is a new reality. This is very different. Throw out the old rules right now. You do need to be nimble. You do need to try and figure out what works and everything like that, because what worked last year, what worked last month may not work right now. And so it may need some testing and some iteration to get to what does work for you, whether that's in business practices or in messaging or engagement with your users, your customers, other things like that. But you have to have that agility. Super interesting. Hernando, I'd love to chat with you next and just come to you with, okay, so there's a lot that COVID-19 is impacting on fintech right now. And maybe digital banking is going kind of mainstream. How do you serve that right now? And how do you sustain that over time?
Yes, it's changing, as we were saying. I think that as Adam was saying, we have a big opportunity because if you get the complete world and you divide it into developed markets and emerging markets, you will see that from 196 countries, there are like 20 or 25 countries that are developed and the rest of us are emerging. Some better than others, but we all are emerging. And when you see, so we are the normal ones, you are the weird ones, but normally the people confuse about that. We are the vast majority, you are the minority. So in the majority of the world, the normal world, you will see that pretty much the same situation. Banks have been offering services for 100 years, but since they use old technology and they have a very high cost structure, they define a business model based on charge fees to people. And because of that business model, that rich people, which is primarily 20% of the people, accept to pay those fees, not because they like it, but because they have to. But for the 80% of the people, the population, that's not an option. Whether I pay those fees or whether I buy food or whether I have money for the bus to get into my work. So the fintech revolution, it's all about that. It's how to create a product that it's hopefully free for people and be with a great UX, no, with a great usability. And if you figure out a way to provide those services on a free way and out of cost and with a great user experience, you will have exponential growth. As an entrepreneur, what you are normally more afraid of is how to fight or to change an habit. But technology is changing habits quite much fastly. Think about how you communicate 5 years ago. You used to talk, now you chat. So WhatsApp changed the way that we communicate. Or how did you socialize 5 years ago? Now you use Facebook or Instagram. So WhatsApp and Facebook or Instagram, they change habits for pretty much everywhere. Here in Colombia, we're 50 million people and we have 38 million Facebook accounts and almost 40 WhatsApp accounts. So in rich and poor people, everyone uses technology to change. They change the habit between those two attributes, free of cost and be great UX. Imagine what would happen if WhatsApp will decide or Facebook will decide to charge $1 per month as a fee. Where we're there in this moment, they will never have the exponential growth. But the fact that they don't charge consumer doesn't mean that they doesn't have a reasonable and sustainable business model. They find a different business model based on charge third parties. So what we're doing here is exactly doing that, offering a very cool service in which people can ask for their debit card, MasterCard card. They can send money, receive money, do all payments, buy anything free of cost with a great UX. And we are having a lot of exponential growth. And that's the big opportunity that this crisis is putting some speed on it.
Yeah. Yeah, super interesting. I'm going to ask Annika to just ping in on that topic right there, because it's really interesting, right? There is sort of this developed and developing world, but there's also in the developed world, guess what? There's some people who are unbanked, right? As we just heard from Adam, right? And so there's a mix in there. And in the developing world, of course, you've got some very high net worth individuals. So there's a mix, and even in there, that makes it more interesting. Just before I do that and turn to you, Annika, on that question, I just want to welcome Andrew from Germany and Jonathan from Amsterdam. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. And Anas, I don't know where you're from, but you sent in a Q&A. You said you had to come in a little late. We are recording this. It will be sent to you. No worries. We're also going to put together a summary of the best comments and everything like that. Panelists, this is your alert. Best comments, quotable quotes, tweetable tweets, all that stuff. Say something cool. And we'll be sending that out also. Annika, some thoughts along the lines of where Hernando was talking about?
Yeah, so I think for our business perspective, right, it's kind of based on what your business, which kind of business you are in, right? So for our business perspective, we are facing mostly small business owner. So they are less likely to be in the situation that Hernando just described. But we do consider to offer them, the most convenient way to make the payment for their insurance. So we recently launched Apple Pay, Google Pay, and we obviously accept all the major payment methods, virtually. So I think that's the best way we can, as an insurance provider, just make the payment process easier, more streamlined. I think that's the way that we kind of offer them that convenience.
Understand. Good.
Yeah.
I'm going to turn to Adam next, and I noticed that. Sorry, say again, Annika. It's all good. You're muted. No worries. It's all good. Going to turn to Adam next. And so we've seen the growth, although I noticed nobody has given us exact stats and figures from their company, which would be more than welcome, by the way. If you want to share your private data with us, we'd be happy to hear it. Be all good. But so we've seen this growth in fintech apps. Now, the question is about sustainability, right? The question is about retention. How do you retain clients that you're getting right now? How do you retain users that you get right now? Adam, can you ping in on that?
Yeah, certainly. And so, you mentioned actually at the start here how what we're seeing is really an acceleration of trends that already existed. And that's certainly what our experience has been, right? Like, and specifically from a marketing perspective, we've always taken the approach of being relevant. I think that's something that for lots of people in both Colombia and in America, where they find that traditional banks just aren't relevant to their lives, right? Like whether it just be their advertising, their messaging, their stories, that even from the standpoint of actually like right now, you'll see a lot of people talking about working from home like we are, right? But hey, we're actually lucky to kind of be professionals who can work remotely. For many of our users, they're working more than they've ever worked before. Because they're the essential workers who are kind of running the parts of the economy that are still buzzing right now. And so I think speaking their language and not talking about like maybe poking fun about like, hey, working from home and like what that means and like being bored and all that. I mean, that's certainly relevant to a lot of people, but for us, it's about being relevant to our users. And so we've taken a very different tone. And you mentioned the data portion. We've seen that through our data, right? We're seeing this huge shift where we're seeing increased paychecks from the Walmarts, from the Targets of the world. Instacart has seen phenomenal growth on our system. DoorDash has seen phenomenal growth on our system, and that's come at the expense of other paychecks, right? If you were working in the restaurant industry, in the entertainment industry, we've seen drastic cuts there. And so it's a shift, I would say, in being relevant, which has always been our goal. I mean, we in all of our marketing, it's been accelerated throughout this.
Adam, I'm really glad that you said that because there's a component here that we haven't really addressed in this particular live chat, and that component is it could be disrespectful. Potentially to send out a message, hey, bored at home, do our thing, use our app, that sort of thing. And guess what? You're an essential services worker and you're risking your life on a daily basis to be out there in the community as a delivery driver or whatever the case might be. This has shown us, COVID-19 has shown us what really matters in a society. And as somebody who is actually making your food, who might be delivering the things that you need to survive, who might be driving you around, might be more important to the economy and more important as what they contribute than many others who are white collar and can work from home right now. And respecting that and honoring that is really, really important. So thank you for saying that.
Go ahead.
You couldn't be more spot on, right? And this and it's something that us both working in marketing and working with tech need to be very cognizant of. This was I think maybe it was last summer and in the fall. One of the big banks out there, Chase, I guess I could name them, they had tweeted out something about, they were poking fun at millennials and like spending money on coffee instead of like saving up or something like that. And it was just totally out of touch with like people's reality, right? And we see that across a lot of spaces in fintech, right? Because fintech is built by people who are making money, who are wealthy, who do have professional jobs. And their demographics don't necessarily reflect that of their customer base, and that's a challenge for us as well. And so it's a trend that's always been the case, but when we look now, it's never been more important.
Annika,
So
you
just
wanted to add
Go
something
ahead,
there?
Annika.
just want to chime in because I'm sorry, just like I noticed something that from our perspective. So we have we serve like job type. In terms of job type, we have blue collar and white collar. And soon the corona hits, we see immediately blue collar drop substantially. However, blue collar pick up substantially. So those are like the essential co-workers, like the essential workers. They are out there, risk their life, clean your whatever. They need these certificates to do their work. So, you know, that's the reason we want to make it easier to get the insurance in 60 seconds. So soon they get the side hustle or like job, they buy the insurance in 60 seconds and they can do the work. So we see this trend, yeah.
Yeah,
that's amazing
it's
because
really,
that's a great example of something that a traditional insurance company they would never be fast enough, never be nimble enough.
Yeah.
Obviously, being able to do it all online, that's something that simply just wouldn't be available otherwise. So
we have a people like give us a call like, hey, I got my insurance certificate like on my way to my job, and that's how easy it is to get my. So that's an important piece of information, paper they need to provide to get a job. Do you know what I mean? And we kind of give them that convenience to just get whatever they need to make money right away.
Yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Hernando, I'd love to turn to you and ask you what I asked Adam as well, and that is sustainability and retention. So there's increased need for fintech right now. We assume that there will be some new normal after coronavirus or after COVID-19. We don't know if that's weeks, months, years, decades. We assume that there will be some kind of vaccine at some point. We don't know that for the world may have changed forever here, but we're finding a way through, and we need to find ways to, okay, we're bringing on new customers. How do we retain them? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I think that, again, this kind of crisis change habits. For example, today, my father he's already have a pension. So he received his money once a month, and he loves to go to the bank to make the line, or at least he said he loves to go to the bank and make a line because it's a full day job, and finally make their payments, no? So it's like, I leave it like that because I'm really happy to have something to do, and then I drink a coffee and I ask things and I see people, and that's why he was reluctant to use Mobi after 1 year that we launched. Even though he's my father, no? Now today that he's not capable to go and make the line in the bank and spend the day paying their bills and all that stuff. So finally he called me today and say, okay, tell me about that product that you have, no? What's that about, and how is it possible to pay the bills through that machine, which is a small phone? So I was saying, okay, let's do it together. So I spent 5 minutes explaining it. And he was, I mean, you cannot imagine his face. He was saying, oh, this is great. I will never go again to the bank. And then he started calling their brothers and their sister to say, I can pay you for your bills because now I'm tech savvy, no? So I think that after today, he will never, even though he thought that it was a good plan to go to the bank to spend the day, from now on, he will never do that again. And now he feels very clever and very intelligent, and he feels tech savvy. It's like, remember when WhatsApp arrived, no? It was a nightmare to send a WhatsApp text to your grandmother. But nowadays, I receive like 20 different messages from my grandmother, a lot of heavy, very long videos, and the old people are the ones that are more using the technology. So I think that's exactly the way, that's an example how COVID has changed habits, and people will never get back again into what it was a very bad experience. And now with a very good experience, people will love to have it.
Fernando, that's a wonderful example. I mean, it's the ultimate validation in technology, right? If your parents can get it and use what you're actually building, that's wonderful. Maybe you'll have to ask Facebook to make WhatsApp harder to use so you don't get those 20 messages from your grandmother. But good luck with that one. In any case, I'm going to turn to the next segment here, and that is I'm going to ask everybody in succession, pretty briefly, what's your top priority after we get off this call? How are you finding your way through this current crisis? So we'll go through one after the other. And Duana, we'll start with you and we'll just go right to left here. What's your first priority after this call? How are you finding your way through?
First thing after this call is going to be to answer the 2 teams that have emailed meanwhile asking how to get on our free COVID offer. I always feel bad to leave anyone waiting at all. I just have this picture of a team on fire that needs our software, and I can't possibly be seeing a movie meanwhile. But and then I'll drop you guys, each of you, an email so that we get your teams on it as well. It's for free. But that's top priority. In all honesty, can I say something slightly unpleasant about the great optimistic thing we've left it with a second ago? I'm not convinced we can change behavior with just looking good and being useful. I've seen, sadly, a lot of things that have been done well. They had amazing UX. They were obviously necessary for life, and yet people went back to really bad habits. I think what's potentially more sustainable is if we go slightly deeper, and you guys all have the ability of doing that because you've made amazing technology products. But if you go back to the emotional needs behind the money transaction, and you're tapping into them, all of you, and then you imagine that in a world post-COVID where speed, agility, and staying very human will matter, and you bake those things into your product already, then I believe that they have a lot more staying power than just being useful. I'm not trying to be negative in any which way. I'm literally just, this is like my heartfelt advice that I would give to my brother or something. I think there's another dimension beyond just making a useful fintech product. And I've seen it over and over again, where to retain humans, you have to really reach those, kind of moments where you've touched their heart, and you can't do that with the things you're making.
Excellent.
Sorry,
okay,
I wasn't
that's a good point. No, that's a good point. I don't find that negative at all. I mean, that's just reality, right? You have to engage people with their needs, what they need, what works for them, as well as have a great user experience. And the good thing is that I think that a lot of us are trying to do that and probably succeeding. Let's go to Adam. What's your top priority after you get off this call? What's your way through this crisis?
Yeah, I'd say my top priority is actually today we saw the first paper checks from stimulus come in, and so as a company that's a huge focus of ours, making sure that experience is a good one, and it's kind of like with everybody, it's our first time dealing with something at that level of magnitude.
Yeah,
that's the number one thing. I guess number two, probably just checking in on my wife and kid.
Wonderful, wonderful. Annika, really briefly, your top priority after this call.
I actually have another meeting right after this call, so I'll be jumping into another meeting. But obviously, our priority is still like try to deliver the proper communication transparently with our customer regarding what can we provide to help them, get their insurance they need. The easiest way, and then that's our top priority. Like our team is constantly building the new feature for you, new product for you to help excel, get more business.
Right. Yeah. Right. Good. And I bet you there's a workout in your near future as well. That's probably another top priority there.
Yeah.
But we'll turn to Hernando really briefly. What's your top priority after this call?
I think that my top priority is finding a way to create a new acquiring network different than the one that we have right now. I mean, we cannot keep on putting a lot of cards in the market and just receiving in a couple of point of sales. So we need a different way to allow a lot of merchants to receive payments on an easy and more expandable way that it's right now. That's my top priority. And actually, if I were Adam, my top priority will be how to not to spend 2 or 3 days paying on checks. Now, I mean, it's funny because normally we are the undeveloped countries. And when I hear that, really, the people still receive checks to pay and banks still holds the money for 5 days, and you're doing it better with 2 days. Is that true?
So I would say the majority of Americans are getting their money via direct deposit. And again, that's what we were able to process. We're talking about last Friday. And so the paper checks are just coming in. So we've actually revamped our product experience to make paper checks a better experience. And we just kind of released that. But in I would say normal life, paper checks are not that relevant. But all of a sudden for, a segment of people, it's become like the most important feature of a bank, right? And so we're just adapting to that. But yeah, Hernando, in a lot of ways, the United States is financial system is a little bit further behind than you might expect.
Finally, so I mean, we're tired of getting to the US and study at Harvard and MIT. Maybe you can come to Kenya, to Colombia to study. We have a good experience here.
That's wonderful. Everybody's got different things to teach. It's great. It's good to see. I'm going to ask one question just to because we've had a question from the audience. It's from somebody in micro lending. It says people are not returning loans. We may have to stop acquisition. What should we do to get more revenues? And I'm not sure who to send that to. That sounds like kind of an Adam or Hernando type of question. Adam, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. And so there, in kind of the realm of US fintech, there's, you can refer to it as like micro lending. That hasn't really been the approach that we've taken. It's like essentially like payday loan-ish model. That's still a little predatory, but certainly not as predatory as traditional payday loans. We've gone through, we again as kind of being your banking institution first, and what we offer is it's a feature called Overdrive, which allows people to overdraft up to $100 without any fees, right? When they go over, and so kind of once you've entrusted us with your money, which is a huge ask, I should say, acquiring a customer for us. I'm essentially asking somebody for all their money, right? If you're paycheck to paycheck, I'm asking, hey, direct deposit that paycheck in our account. I'm asking for all your money. Once you've decided, hey, I'm going to trust Current with that. We then trust you with, hey, we think that you can go over your balance, and we do that, strategically in a way that's sustainable, not predatory, all that stuff. But
wonderful.
If that's the only part of your business, right? You lead with that. It's great for acquisition, but all of a sudden, it's not a sustainable business model in a shock like this. And so I'm not laughing at their expense. It's more out of sympathy, because again, these are all smart people, great people, and who all of a sudden, this like small difference in business model completely destroys their business, right? And their livelihood and their jobs and their companies. And that's really tough.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to start the wrap here because we don't want to presume too long on people's time, especially our panelists. So I would love to thank every panelist. Duana, thank you so much for joining us at the last moment and providing that emotional, in-touch, personal opinion of what you're doing. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, I had no idea that you had COVID-19. I'm so thankful that you and your wife are okay, that your young child was born safely.
Awesome thing.
And really appreciate you being with us, because it's one thing to talk about this. I haven't had COVID-19 to my knowledge, although my wife and I have felt a few things and we wonder a little bit, but thank you for joining us. Annika, thank you as well. Really appreciate you taking this time out to provide your perspective. Hernando, thank you as well. Wonderful to have a perspective from Colombia. Wonderful to have a perspective from what you've said is a developing economy, but in some ways is ahead of what we see in some places that we call developed. And so that's excellent to see as well. Thank you all for being part of this. And thank you all attendees as well. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you're continuing to do during COVID-19. It's not easy. Sometimes you see the news, you maybe want to stay in bed. It's challenging, but thank you for getting out, whether you're working in an office or most likely at home. Thank you for continuing to do what you're doing, because we can't just give up, right? We have to go through. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Thanks for inviting us. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.